Before we begin, drop a comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Nairobi, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France. I want to know. Don't just sit back. Tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. Rain hammered the roof of the Q train like angry fingers, and people kept staring at the girl with the ripped backpack, sitting alone near the doors. Her name was Cyrena Vale, 19, hungry, broke, and exhausted. She had walked 12 blocks in worn-out shoes just to get to a job interview that ended with, "You're not what we're looking for." Her shirt was soaked, sticking to her skin, hair dripping cold water onto the subway floor. She pressed her forehead against the window and closed her eyes, pretending not to hear the two women whispering about her smell, about how she looked homeless. Cyrena swallowed hard. She wasn't homeless. Not yet. But she was close. She hadn't eaten since yesterday. As the train jolted, her body leaned sideways, collapsing from fatigue. Someone's shoulder caught her before she fell. Warm. Solid. She didn't even look. She just let her eyes shut. Because if she opened them, she might cry in front of strangers. And Cyrena Vale refused to ever let anyone see her cry. The shoulder she fell against shifted. Not away, but closer. A deep voice said low and steady, "Easy." Cyrena froze. She lifted her head and instantly regretted it. The man beside her looked expensive. Charcoal coat, tanned skin, sharp jaw, black hair slicked but messy in a deliberate way. His eyes were silver gray, like metal just pulled from fire. People on the train suddenly grew quiet. Cyrena blinked, confused, until she felt something strange. The air changed, heavy, electric. A scent hit her, cedar, storms, dark earth after rain. Her heart thudded painfully. The man stared at her like he knew her, like he was searching her face for something important. She turned away, cheeks burning. "Sorry," she whispered. He didn't answer, but he didn't move his shoulder away either. Outside the subway window, lights blurred across tunnels like streaks of gold. Cyrena hated moments like this. Kindness felt dangerous. Kindness had never come without a price. A group of men got on at Atlantic Avenue, loud, cursing, pushing past people. One of them pointed at Serena's shoes and laughed. "Yo, look at this! Girl got holes in her sneakers!" Another tugged at her backpack strap. Cyrena tried to pull away, humiliated. The silver-eyed man didn't even stand. He just looked at the guy and said one word, "Stop." Calm. Not loud, but the air went still. The guy froze, eyes wide, like someone had pressed a hand to his throat. He backed away. All of them did. Cyrena stared at the stranger, fear and wonder mixing in her chest. Who was he? He didn't touch her. Didn't say anything else. Just kept watching her, breathing steady and slow, as if he was fighting something inside. Her eyelids drooped. Exhaustion swallowed her whole. She leaned back against that shoulder again, too tired to stop herself. He let her. He actually let her. Cyrena tried staying awake, but warmth stole her focus. Her last thought before sleep was that his heartbeat sounded too loud, too fast, too animal. When she woke, the subway was empty. Completely empty. The lights flickered overhead, and the train wasn't moving anymore. Cyrena jerked upright. She wasn't leaning on the stranger's shoulder anymore. She was in his lap. Her palm was flat against his chest, and his hand was holding hers. Heat shot through her spine. "What?" He looked down at their joined hands like he was seeing something impossible. "It's done," he muttered, voice rough, like gravel wrapped in velvet. Cyrena pulled away, scrambling off the seat. "What's done?" He stood, taller than she expected, towering over her. "The bond," he said. "The claiming." Cyrena backed up so fast she hit the subway pole. "What bond? I don't know you." He blinked slowly, like some instinct had taken over. "You fell asleep on my shoulder," he said, "and now you're mine." Serena laughed, too sharp, too shaky. "I don't belong to anyone." He stepped closer, but not like a man, like a predator. "My name is Alaric Draven," he said, "Alpha of the Bloodhowl Pack." Cyrena stared. New York had gangs, cult kids, weird billionaires, sure. But wolves, bonds, claims? She grabbed her backpack. "You're crazy." She pushed past him to the door. It didn't open. He didn't touch her, but his voice followed, low and certain. "Your scent changed when you slept. You triggered the bond. I didn't choose this." Serena swallowed. "What happens now?" He looked away, jaw tight, something like pain in his eyes. "Now," he said, "wolves will come for you, because you smell like the Alpha's mate." Serena shook her head. "This is a bad dream." A howl echoed down the empty subway tunnel, long and furious. Alaric's eyes flashed silver. It just became a nightmare. Serena stumbled backward as the howl rolled through the subway tunnel, a deep, ancient sound that felt older than New York itself. Alaric didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped in front of her, shoulders rising like he was preparing to fight something she couldn't see. Serena's heart throbbed in her ears. This was insane. Just yesterday she was begging for extra shifts at the coffee shop, and now she was trapped underground, with a man claiming to be a wolf. The train doors finally hissed open. Alaric didn't look back at her. "Stay close," he said. Serena considered running the opposite direction, but another howl echoed, closer this time. Instinct pushed her forward. She followed him out into the dim, tile-covered station, legs shaking, remembering every warning anyone ever gave her about strangers. Only this stranger had silver eyes and made gangs freeze with one word. Her mind said, danger. Her body said something else, something dangerous in a completely different way. They climbed the station stairs two at a time, emerging into cold, late-night Brooklyn air. Serena kept glancing over her shoulder, waiting to see glowing eyes or teeth in the shadows. "What do you mean wolves will come for me?" she finally whispered. Alaric stopped under a streetlight, its yellow glow cutting across his jaw like a blade of light. "In my world," he said, "bonding to an alpha makes you valuable. Powerful wolves will want to take you, some to hurt me, some to use you." Cyrena shook her head, trying to breathe. "I don't believe in any of this." Alaric stared at her, expression unreadable. "Belief has nothing to do with it." A car passed by, loud music spilling out, ordinary life continuing like none of this was happening. Serena's hunger twisted her stomach. She didn't have money. She didn't have safety. And now she didn't even have normal. Alaric started walking, and Serena followed because she didn't know what else to do. "This bond," she said carefully. "Is it permanent?" Alaric didn't answer right away. The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled too tight. "It shouldn't have happened," he said finally. "Mating only occurs by choice, with ceremony, intention, witnesses." His voice dropped, barely a whisper. "But when your head hit my shoulder, something ancient woke up." Serena rubbed her arms against the chill. Her chest ached with a memory she didn't want. Sleeping on a stranger's shoulder was the first human warmth she'd felt in months. She hated that she liked it. "I'm not staying with you," she said quietly. "I don't belong to you." Alaric stopped walking and turned to face her, eyes shadowed. "I never claimed ownership," he said. "But wolves don't respect refusal. They respect strength." Serena stared up at him, breathing hard. "Then teach me strength." Alaric blinked, surprised. Then something like respect flickered in his eyes. "Training a human to survive wolf politics is impossible," he said. "You don't have fangs. You don't have instincts." Serena stepped closer, forcing him to look directly at her. "I have nothing," she said. No money, no family, no one checking if I'm alive. So I have nothing to lose. Those words hit him harder than she expected. Alaric looked away, jaw tight. Everyone has something to lose, he murmured. The moment you think you don't, you're already dead. A siren wailed far away. A dog barked down a side street. The city suddenly felt full of unseen eyes. Alaric reached into his coat and pulled out a black card with a silver wolf emblem. There's a place in Queens, he said. Safe house owned by my pack. Stay there tonight. Serena frowned. And what will you do? Alaric's voice lowered. Hunt the one that howled for you. Serena hesitated, gripping the card so hard her knuckles turned white. Something inside her chest was shifting, a mix of fear, curiosity, and something she refused to name. Why me? She asked softly. There are millions of women in this city. Why a nobody on a subway? Alaric took a long breath before answering. I don't know, he admitted. Bonds don't choose wealth or beauty or power. They choose need. Serena's throat tightened. Need. She had needed warmth so desperately that her body betrayed her. If this is real, she said, voice shaking, there has to be a way to undo it. Alaric looked at her with something like grief. Maybe, he said. There are legends, rituals, but they require old magic. Serena tucked the card into her pocket. Then start looking. Alaric held her gaze for a long moment, tension pulling the air tight between them. Then he nodded once. No promises, no lies, just a silent agreement. She didn't know which direction to go, but the moment she stepped toward the street corner, Alaric grabbed her wrist, not hard, but fast. His eyes flashed silver again. Serena. Hearing her name in his voice did something strange to her pulse. Promise me something, he said. She waited. If anything feels wrong, anything at all, don't run. Call my name. Serena lifted one eyebrow. That's it? Just shout Alaric and magic happens? He actually smiled, a ghost of one. Something like that. He let go of her. She walked away. Every step felt like stepping deeper into a story she didn't choose. But behind her, Alaric watched like a guardian carved from shadow. Wolves were real. Magic existed. And a starving girl from a broken life had accidentally bonded with the most dangerous creature in New York. Serena didn't look back, but her heart did, and somewhere in the distance another wolf howled, closer than before. Serena reached the Queen's safe house just past 2 a.m. It looked nothing like she expected. No guards, no fences. Just a brownstone on a quiet street, porch light buzzing. A single cracked window pane reflecting the city glow. Her feet ached. Her stomach growled. She used the silver wolf emblem card to open the door, and it clicked like a hotel key. Inside, the air smelled faintly of pine and old books. A staircase creaked somewhere above, and Serena froze, listening. Nothing moved. It's just a house, she whispered to herself. But she didn't believe it. She wandered into the living room, spotting a clean blanket folded on the couch and a note on the coffee table. Sleep wherever you like. No signature. She almost laughed. The first real bed she'd seen in weeks, and she chose the couch. Habit. Safety. Small space. She curled up, pulling the blanket over her and staring at the ceiling until her eyelids surrendered. Just before sleep. Took her. She thought about Alaric's voice, how certain it sounded when he said her name. She hated how much comfort it brought. She woke to a scraping sound. Not loud, just soft, like claws on wood. Serena sat up, heart hammering. The room was darker than before. A street lamp outside flickered, causing shadows to bend and stretch across the floor. She listened. Nothing. She almost lay back down when she heard it again. Scrape, scrape, scratch. Coming from the kitchen. Serena swallowed hard, every instinct yelling at her to run, but she forced herself to stand. She crept toward the noise, gripping her phone like a weapon, though she knew it would do nothing. When she reached the doorway, something moved fast, a blur disappearing behind the fridge. Serena gasped and stepped back, nearly tripping over a chair. Then a voice spoke from behind her, male, thin, shaking. He wasn't supposed to bond yet. Serena spun around. A young man stood at the foot of the stairs, pale, blonde, eyes wide with something between fear and excitement. He wore a black hoodie with the same wolf emblem as Alaric's card. "Who are you?" Serena demanded. "I live here," he said. "Name's Cade, Beta." Serena didn't know what that meant, only that it sounded like trouble. Cade stepped into the lamplight, revealing sharp cheekbones and eyes that glowed faintly gold. "That scent," he whispered. "It's real. You're really bonded to him." Serena backed up until she hit the wall. "You know something's in the kitchen," she said. Cade nodded, too calmly. "Scouts," he said. "Low-level wolves. They track new mates like bloodhounds." Serena's breath turned to ice. "Alaric said I'd be safe here." Cade actually laughed, bitter and humorless. "There is no safe place for someone tied to an alpha without ceremony." Serena felt anger push past her fear. "I didn't ask for any of this." Cade's expression shifted, sympathy flickering in his eyes. "Nobody ever does." The scraping sound stopped suddenly, and silence flooded the room. Cade's gaze snapped toward the kitchen. "Stay behind me," he said. He didn't wait for agreement. He moved, fast and fluid, into the darkness. Serena followed because being alone felt worse than facing whatever crawled through the house. A cabinet door opened by itself, slow, creaking like something was pressing from the inside. Cade yanked the door open, and a small shape launched at him. Fur, teeth, glowing eyes. Serena screamed. Cade grabbed the creature midair and slammed it down. It wasn't a wolf. Not fully. More like a twisted dog with 2 long legs and a mouth filled with needle teeth. It snarled and bucked, snapping at his hands. Cade gritted his teeth, veins straining in his neck. "Call him!" Cade hissed. Serena stared, panic shutting down her breath. "Call who?" Cade took a claw across his cheek but held on. "Alaric! Loud!" Serena's voice broke as she shouted, "Alaric!" Nothing. The creature twisted, ripping loose. Serena watched it pivot toward her, eyes blazing red. She screamed his name again, louder, desperate. "Alaric!" The room cracked with pressure, like air being sucked out. A crash blasted through the window as a huge black shape vaulted into the house. Fur, teeth, silver eyes. It hit the creature like a wrecking ball. Serena fell to her knees, covering her head as glass rained down. The fight was fast. Brutal. Over in seconds. When Serena looked up, Alaric stood panting in the middle of the room, wolf blood dripping from his hands. Alaric wasn't fully wolf. He was something between. Human body, but eyes and posture of a predator. Serena stared at him, breath shaking, unable to move. Cade wiped blood from his cheek and muttered, "I told you it would start." Alaric ignored him, stepping toward Serena, voice gravel soft. "Are you hurt?" Serena shook her head, though her whole body shook. Alaric reached a hand toward her, then stopped, fingers curling like he was holding himself back. "You called," he said quietly. Serena swallowed. "It worked," she whispered. Alaric nodded once. "It always will." Cade cleared his throat. "Alpha, someone sent a hunter into the safe house. That means someone inside New York Pax knows." Alaric's eyes went dark, deadly. "Then we move," he said. "Tonight." Serena looked between them, exhausted, terrified, and suddenly aware of a truth worse than all the rest. This was only the beginning. She wasn't safe in a house, or a subway, or anywhere. The moment she fell asleep on a stranger's shoulder, her whole world changed. and now every wolf in the city wanted to claim what she never asked to be. Behind her, glass crunched under Alaric's boots as he came closer and whispered, "From now on, wherever you go, I go." Cyrena didn't know whether to scream or hold on. Cyrena didn't sleep again. No one did. Cade patched the claw marks on his cheek with trembling hands, while Alaric paced like a caged storm, eyes flashing silver every time Cyrena breathed too loudly. The safe house smelled like broken glass and fear. "Where are we going?" Cyrena asked, clutching her torn backpack. Alaric didn't look at her. "Somewhere they won't track you." Cade snorted, stuffing a duffel with weapons that looked handmade and illegal. "There isn't a place in New York they can't track an alpha's mate." Alaric snapped. "Not a place, a person." Cyrena stiffened. "Who?" Alaric hesitated, jaw tight. "My mother." Cyrena blinked. She hadn't pictured this ruthless, midnight-eyed alpha having a mother at all. "She's a witch," Cade added casually, like that explained everything. Cyrena stared. "A witch. In Brooklyn." Cade zipped the duffel. "Well, technically Red Hook. Voodoo shop with 5-star Yelp reviews." Cyrena wanted to laugh, but panic sat heavy in her throat. "Why? Didn't we go to her first?" Alaric stopped pacing. "Because witches don't help unless they're owed." They left the ruined safe house just before sunrise. Brooklyn streets wet with leftover rain, trash bags glistening under orange street lamps. Cyrena walked between Alaric and Cade, pretending she didn't see the way people looked at them, like they weren't human. Cade walked with a slight limp, blood drying on his collar. Alaric walked dead silent, scanning rooftops, alleys, anything that moved. Cyrena didn't know where to put her eyes. Everything felt sharper, louder, alive. "That thing last night," she said quietly. "Was it real?" Alaric didn't slow. "Packless, savage. Someone bred it to hunt." Cyrena swallowed. "Hunt what?" He glanced at her then, a look almost gentle. "You." That single word was worse than claws, worse than the howl in the subway. Cyrena forced her voice steady. "Why me?" Alaric didn't answer. Cade did. "Because if someone kills you," he said, "they break him." Cyrena opened her mouth, closed it. Her chest ached. "I'm just a girl." Cade shook his head. "You're an alpha's weakness." They reached Red Hook just as the sun broke through the skyline, painting warehouses gold. Alaric stopped outside a boarded storefront with a neon sign, "Moon, Milk, and Roots." It shouldn't have looked scary, but the moment Cyrena stepped inside, her skin prickled. It smelled like sage, honey, and burnt metal. Candles flickered in jars filled with salt. A woman sat behind the counter, dark hair in braids, eyes glassy with silver streaks. She didn't look up. "You brought trouble," she said. Alaric's voice changed, softer, careful. "Mother." Cyrena stared. The woman was beautiful, but something ancient sat in her posture, like she wasn't fully rooted in this world. She lifted her eyes to Cyrena, and Cyrena felt naked, like every secret she ever had. Every bruise, every hunger, every lonely night was suddenly visible. "The bond is incomplete," the witch said. "That is why they hunt." Cyrena took a step back. "Can you break it?" The woman regarded her with sad eyes. "A bond formed in sleep is rare. Only happens when two souls share a wound." Cyrena's throat tightened. "We don't share anything," she whispered. The witch stood, moving around the counter with slow grace. "You loved someone who left," she said to Cyrena. Cyrena froze. "And you saved someone who died," she said to Alaric. Both went completely still. Cade bowed his head, like he already knew this about his alpha. "There are two options," the witch continued. "Complete the mating, or sever it." Cyrena's stomach twisted. "Sever," she said quickly. Alaric's jaw clenched like someone had struck him. "To sever," his mother said. requires a blood oath and a sacrifice. Alaric stepped forward. What sacrifice? The witch met his gaze. Memory. One of you must forget the other. Completely. Serena felt suddenly cold. Forget. The first real warm moment she'd had in months. Gone. The shoulder she slept on. The strange feeling of safety. Gone. Alaric spoke before she could breathe. I'll forget. Serena's heart lurched. Why? He didn't look at her. Because I chose this world. You didn't. Cade whispered. Alpha. But Alaric raised a hand to silence him. Serena shook her head hard. You don't get to decide that. The witch brought out a silver bowl and placed it on a table covered in runes. If you break the bond, she said, all hunters will stop. You will be free. Serena thought of subway tunnels, safe houses, teeth, blood, hunger. Normal life sounded like paradise. She nodded. Slow. Let's break it. Alaric didn't move. His eyes burned like an animal about to run into fire. Look at me, he said softly. Serena did, and something inside her changed shape. Not love, but recognition. Loneliness, recognizing loneliness. If we break the bond, he whispered, I won't remember your voice, or your fear, or saving you when you called me. Serena's breath caught. He stepped closer. Say the word, he said, and I'll let you go. Serena opened her mouth to say it, to choose freedom, when the shop windows exploded inward, glass spraying like rain. A voice screamed from outside, low and furious. No one breaks an alpha bond. Multiple shadows flooded through the shattered frames. Wolves. Real wolves. Teeth bared, eyes glowing. Cade shoved Cyrena behind the counter. Alaric roared, not human this time. And Cyrena realized something horrible. The choice was gone. They weren't breaking anything tonight. They were fighting to survive. The night air clung to Ceres's skin like cold breath when she stepped out of the demolished cabin. Broken wood, glass, dirt, and the smell of beast lingered behind her. The moon over upstate New York hung low and swollen, too bright, like it was watching her. Cade paced outside, shoulders tight, eyes glowing faint gold, wolf hiding beneath the surface, restless and angry. Ceres swallowed hard. Why didn't you tell me? She whispered. Cade didn't look at her at first. A car alarm echoed somewhere far off, and an owl cried through the pines. Because you were never supposed to stay, he said. His voice wasn't cold, just tired. Ceres could feel something inside her shift, something she didn't understand. A mate bond shouldn't make her bones feel electric. She hugged herself, fighting tears, mind spinning back to the moment she woke up on his shoulder. Everything she didn't choose suddenly connected to him forever. We need to go, Cade said, suddenly sharp. He scanned the tree line like he expected something to leap out. Ceres's breath hitched. Is it still out there? He didn't answer. Instead, he reached down, grabbed her wrist, warm, strong, trembling, and pulled her toward a black jeep buried in shadows. Tires crunched on gravel as he pushed her inside and slammed the door. Don't move, he growled. Something primal stirred in Ceres then, a strange, ancient instinct, fear wrapped in familiarity. She watched him in the moonlight, tall, savage calm, every movement controlled. A branch snapped. Cade turned, eyes blazing, but saw nothing. He shouldn't be here, he whispered. He got in the driver's seat and peeled out, tunnels of trees whipping past, yellow lines flashing under the wheels. Ceres clenched the seatbelt and tried to breathe. Who is he? She asked. Cade didn't look away from the road. The Alpha before me. When they hit asphalt and the first highway sign appeared, Interstate 87, New York City, Ceres finally spoke again. I don't understand any of this. Cade's jaw flexed. You're not supposed to understand yet. That answer stung. sharp and humiliating. Saris turned to the window, tears burning. City lights began faint in the distance, rising like a golden trap. "You made me your mate," she said, "but you won't talk to me." Cade inhaled, a low growl rumbling in his chest. "I didn't choose it," he said. "Something older did." Saris blinked. He continued, quieter now. "And now I have to protect you, whether you want me to or not." Silence swelled between them. She remembered the street where she used to sleep in summer, the bus shelter near 145th, the nights spent trying to stay warm. A poor girl with nothing. Now a pack, danger, a bond she didn't understand. "Tell me his name," she said. Cade whispered, "Riven." Traffic thickened. Times Square flickered ahead, neon reflections in the windshield. Saris had never seen New York like this, from above, from speed, from someone else's fear. The Jeep swerved suddenly, Cade changing lanes too fast. Saris grabbed the dashboard. "What is he?" she asked. Cade swallowed, voice breaking for the first time. "Not what, who? My father." Saris froze. Cade's knuckles were white on the steering wheel, teeth clenched, breathing uneven. "He wants something I have," he said. "And now he'll try to get to it through you." Saris stared. "What do you have?" A beat of silence. A horn blared. A taxi cut in front of them. Cade whispered, "The throne." Saris felt her pulse in her throat. Werewolves had thrones? Kingdoms? She thought of gangs, territories, money. Not this. "Why me?" she whispered. Cade finally looked at her, gold eyes soft and brutal. "Because he can't kill me if you're bonded to me." It took a full second for the meaning to hit. They pulled under an old iron gate in Lower Manhattan, structure hidden behind a red brick warehouse. Cade punched in a code, and heavy metal doors rolled open. Inside was a forgotten train platform, lights flickering, steel rails rusting like old bones. He parked near a concrete wall and cut the engine. The silence after was too loud. Saris got out slowly, legs shaking. "You brought me underground?" she said. "Safer here. He can't smell you under the city." She stared at him. "I'm not a package you hide." Cade stepped closer, breath warm, expression unreadable. "You're more than that. You just don't know it yet." A sudden pounding echoed through the tunnels. 1, 2, 3, like someone striking stone. Saris spun. Cade stiffened. His wolf surged beneath his skin, visible in his eyes, in the way his hands flexed like claws. "Stay behind me," he said. Saris shook her head. "I'm done staying quiet." Something snapped inside her then. Maybe bravery, maybe stupidity. But she stepped forward instead of back. The pounding stopped. A whisper drifted through darkness. "Son." The voice was like broken glass dragged across gravel. Saris's blood went cold. A man stepped into weak light at the far end of the tunnel. Tall, silver-haired, coat black as midnight, eyes glowing faint red. Not gold, not normal. Riven. Saris didn't need to ask. She knew instantly. He smiled, slow, cruel. "You brought her to the city," he said. His gaze slid over Saris, and she felt something cold wrap around her spine. Cade moved in front of her. "You're trespassing." Riven laughed. "I built this kingdom. I go where I please." Saris whispered, "He's not human." Cade never took his eyes off his father. "Neither am I." The air shifted, thick and electric. Riven's eyes burned brighter. "Give me the girl," he said, "or I take the city from you piece by piece." Cade growled, "Over my dead body." Riven grinned wider. That was the plan. The tunnel lights flickered, buzzing, then burst in a single crack of darkness. Darkness swallowed the tunnel in a single heartbeat. Saris gasped, hands searching for anything. Wall, rail, Cade's sleeve. All she caught was air and echoing breath. Something moved fast, too fast, and every instinct screamed, "Run, hide, don't breathe." Cade's voice cut through the dark, low and dangerous. "Stay with me." Metal screeched, like claws dragging across a train car. A spark flared, tiny and desperate, then died. Riven's voice slithered through blackness. "You were careless, son." Saris's fingers brushed concrete, and she dropped down, crouching by instinct. The air smelled wrong now. Burning, iron, something ancient. A warm hand suddenly closed over hers. She flinched. "It's me," Cade whispered, but beneath his voice she heard something else. A crack in his control, a tremor of fear he didn't want her to notice. A deep snarl rolled through the darkness, vibrating the floor. Then lights snapped back on, harsh and humming. And Riven was gone. Silence crashed down like a weight. Saris rose slowly, eyes darting across the platform. Cade stood frozen, chest heaving, pupils blown wide like he was still half wolf. "He won't stop," Cade said, voice low. "He's testing boundaries." Saris stared at him, pulse shaking in her wrists. "What does he want from me?" Cade ran a hand through his hair, frustration hardening every movement. "Leverage, control. If he has you, he owns me." Those words shouldn't have meant anything, but they did, and the truth hurt. Saris backed up a step. "I didn't ask for this." Cade's eyes snapped to hers, glowing faint, wolf shimmering behind them. "Neither did I." She swallowed. His anger wasn't toward her, she could see that now, but toward fate, tradition, a throne, a father who wanted war. A rusty door in the far wall creaked, and an elderly man stepped out, holding a lantern. Gray beard, mechanic's jumpsuit. "Alpha," he said calmly, like monsters in tunnels were normal. Cade nodded. "We're leaving." They followed the old man down a tight corridor lit by bare bulbs. Pipes hissed overhead, and graffiti covered the walls. Snarling wolves, crowns, silver moons. Underground pack territory. Saris felt small, like a trespasser in someone else's legends. They reached a steel room with no windows, just a table and 2 metal chairs. Cade closed the door and leaned against it, shoulders sagging. "You need to understand something," he said. Saris crossed her arms, trying to hide how badly her hands shook. "Then explain it." He met her eyes. "The mate bond is ancient. It's not romance. It's fate, survival. When you fell asleep on my shoulder, something recognized you. Something older than me." Saris blinked, remembering the bus, the warmth of him, exhaustion swallowing her whole. "I wasn't special," she whispered. "I was homeless, tired." Cade's voice softened. "That's why it chose you. Survival recognizes survival." Her breath caught. She wanted to hate him, scream, run. Instead, she sank into a chair, eyes stinging. "I don't know who I am anymore." Cade crouched beside her. "You're mine." She jerked away. "I'm my own." The old man cleared his throat gently. "We don't have much time." Cade stood and faced him. "How long before Riven strikes again?" The man's eyes darkened. "Before dawn." Saris's stomach dropped. "Dawn? That's hours." Cade nodded. "He wants the city awake. Witnesses." Saris looked between them. "Witnesses to what?" Cade didn't answer. The old man did. "A challenge." The word sounded primal. "Bloody." Cade paced, energy pulsing off him like heat. "He wants to fight me for the throne." Saris's voice cracked. "A fight to the death." Cade stopped pacing. "If he wins, he controls the pack, the burrows. Even the humans never know." Saris clenched her fists. "And if he loses?" Cade stared at the floor. "Then you become Luna." The word echoed in her chest, unfamiliar and terrifying. The room hummed with pressure she couldn't see. "No," she whispered. I can't be someone's queen. Cade stepped closer, gentler now. You already are. Somewhere distant, a rumble shook dust from the ceiling. The old man's eyes widened. He's coming through the subway tunnels. Cade grabbed Saris's hand and pulled her toward the exit. We need allies. Now! They burst into a parking area where parked motorcycles gleamed under fluorescent lights. Wolves, actual wolves, stood beside them, watching. Huge, gray-black, intelligent eyes tracking Saris like they knew something she didn't. Cade let go of her hand and barked a command in a language she didn't know. The wolves moved in unison, forming a circle around her. One brushed against her leg, warm fur grounding her, surprising tears to her eyes. She didn't know why she felt safe. She didn't know why the fear had turned into something sharper, almost protective. Engines roared. Cade mounted a black Harley and reached back for her. Get on, he said. She hesitated for a heartbeat, then swung her leg over and wrapped her arms around him. Where are we going? She shouted over the noise. Cade revved the engine, eyes burning gold. To call the pack. As they shot out into a hidden street entrance and sped into the night, Saris's heart pounded with the rhythm of the engine. Wind tore through her hair, and sparks of city light flashed like warnings. Behind them, wolves sprinted, paws hitting pavement silently. Cade leaned close so only she could hear. When dawn hits, everything changes. Saris closed her eyes for a moment, breathing the speed, the fear, the strange, sudden certainty. Something inside her wasn't running anymore. Something was rising. Let it, she whispered. They sped across the Williamsburg Bridge just before dawn, headlights cutting through mist rising from the East River. Saris pressed against Cade's back, fingers gripping his jacket as the city blurred past in streaks of sodium yellow and steel gray. Wolves ran beside the motorcycle, silent shadows leaping between parked cars and dumpsters, keeping pace like ghosts. The air tasted like metal and fear. Cade turned off the main road and into an alley behind an abandoned church where stained glass windows still showed saints and wolves, cracked and faded. He killed the engine. The sudden quiet felt wrong, heavy. Saris's heartbeat thudded loud in her ears. Where are we? She whispered. Cade looked tired, older than last night. Packed ground. Before she could ask anything else, a door opened behind the church, and a woman stepped out wearing a dark coat with a silver crest, a wolf's head crowned with thorns. Her eyes flashed sky blue, not gold. You brought her, she said, and Riven is already hunting. Inside the church basement, candles flickered in every corner, wax dripping in long tears down rusted metal stands. The air smelled like fire, herbs, and something wild. Saris's gaze landed on a long wooden table with maps spread across it. Burrow lines, underground roads, subway tunnels, and shaded zones marked with claw-shaped symbols. Wolves, actual wolves, lay around the room like sentries, watching her with unblinking eyes. The woman introduced herself as Sable. She moved like someone ready to fight, fast but controlled. She's the mate, Sable said, studying Saris. There was no warmth, only assessment. We thought it was a rumor. Cade shot back. It's real. Sable stepped closer to Saris, nostrils flaring slightly. Human. She said it like a problem. Saris stiffened. Is that an issue? Sable didn't blink. It's dangerous. Cade's voice cut in, sharp. It's destiny. A growl from somewhere in the room answered that. Wolves shifted, claws clicking against cement. Saris swallowed hard. She felt like prey and something else, something waking. Cade spread a map out flat. Riven wants a public challenge, somewhere symbolic. Sable pointed to a location circled in red. Central Park, the Ramble, First Light. Saris stared. In the middle of the city? Sable nodded. That's the point. Neutral ground. Old pack laws. Witnesses. Cade clenched his jaw. He knows I won't refuse. Saris reached for the map, hand shaking. What happens if you fight and win? Sable's eyes darkened. He dies. Saris looked at Cade. And if you lose? Cade didn't speak. Sable did. This entire pack becomes his army. No limits, no laws. Humans become cattle. Saris felt a chill spread through her chest, slow and sharp. There has to be another way. Cade's voice was low, hoarse. There isn't. He traced a finger along a marked path through tunnels. We need to reach the ramble before sunrise. He'll ambush if he can. Sable nodded. We'll flank from the south. Saris stepped back from the table, dizzy with the size of it all. Thrones, death matches, armies lurking beneath New York streets. She was a girl who used to count coins for coffee, who slept in libraries to stay warm. And now she was something that had everything to lose. A sudden, piercing howl ripped through the basement. Wolves bolted upright. Dust rained from pipes. Sable cursed and grabbed a black blade from a crate. He found us. Cade grabbed Saris's wrist and pulled her behind a concrete pillar. Another howl, closer, deeper. One voice controlling many. Riven. The church lights flickered, then blew out, plunging everything into silver darkness lit only by candle flames. Cade shifted halfway, bones popping under his skin, eyes burning gold like fire trapped in glass. Stay behind me, he growled. Saris's adrenaline surged, but something else stirred beneath it, like heat spreading from her ribs outward. She heard wolves shifting, bodies twisting into something bigger, fur tearing through skin. Shadows lunged toward a door upstairs, claws scraping wood. A boom shook the staircase. Splinters rained down into the basement like falling, knives. Voices roared, wolves and something older. Then a smell hit Saris. Cold, unnatural, like winter storm air. Riven was here. The basement door exploded inward and a figure stepped through smoke. Tall, black coat swirling like smoke, eyes glowing a shade of red that made the candlelight seem weak. Riven smiled, fangs gleaming. No more hiding, son. Sable charged, blade flashing silver. Riven caught her wrist mid-air, effortless. Loyal as ever, he said, then flicked her aside like she weighed nothing. Sable hit the wall, coughing blood. Wolves attacked in a storm of teeth and fur, but Riven moved like a shadow, fast, silent, impossible. Cade roared and lunged, half-wolf form ripping through skin, claws glowing faint gold. Father and son collided in a sound like stone breaking. Saris ducked behind a fallen beam, watching in horror as claws slashed and teeth snapped. Blood hit the floor in dark drops. Cade was strong, but Riven was older, untouched by fear. This city will be mine again, Riven said, forcing Cade's arm back, joints cracking. Saris couldn't breathe. Something inside her burst, panic, rage, instinct. Without thinking, she grabbed the nearest object, a vial of ash on the map table. Her fingers burned the moment she touched it, but she threw it at Riven's chest. The glass shattered. Gray dust exploded in the air. Riven recoiled with a snarl, eyes blazing red. What did you... Cade gasped. Witch's ash. It burns him. Sable coughed from the floor. How did she know that? Saris stared at her hand, still burning. I didn't, she whispered. Riven snarled and vanished. Literally vanished like smoke sucked through a crack. Silence crashed into the basement again, broken only by ragged breathing and dripping blood. Cade shifted fully human, collapsed to one knee, sweat and blood streaking his face. Saris ran to him, heart hammering. Wolves circled them, tense, waiting. Sable wiped blood from her mouth and stared at Saris like she was something new and dangerous. We move now, she rasped, He'll reform in minutes. Cade gripped Saris's hand, fierce, alive. Stay close, he said. Outside, faint light began to bleed through a high window. First trace of dawn. The challenge would come. And this time, Saris was done being protected. She could feel it in her bones, in that burning mark on her palm. Something ancient had chosen her too. They moved through the city underground, slipping through service tunnels and abandoned subway lines older than memory. Wolves ran ahead and behind, silent except for claws tapping on tile. Sable led them through a rusted doorway and up a narrow flight of stairs that emptied into Central Park, just as the sky bruised purple with early dawn. The ramble spread before them. Wild, tangled trees, winding paths, rock outcroppings slick with dew. Cade stopped beside a cluster of boulders where moss grew thick and dark. He closed his eyes for a moment, breathing like he was taking the whole world into his lungs. Saris watched him. It was the first pause he'd allowed since nightfall. Sable scanned the tree line. He'll come from the north. Pack law. A challenger enters from shadow. Saris whispered, And you just fight? Cade's eyes opened. We don't just fight. We end bloodlines. The words were cold, but not cruel, like truth older than language. Saris stared at her burning palm. Hours ago, she was a nobody in a borrowed world. Now dawn might mean death. Sable handed Saris a curved blade, its metal dark and matte, hilt wrapped in black leather. Keep this hidden. If he gets close, aim for the throat. Saris blinked. I don't know how to fight. Sable's stare was flat and unblinking. You'll learn fast. Cade turned to Saris, voice low. You won't need that. I keep him away from you. But Saris shook her head, surprising herself. No, I'm done being just something to use. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Cade looked at her like she had changed shape before his eyes. Fine, he said. Then stay behind me, but hold your ground. Light crept higher through branches, silver on leaves, gold on rocks. Birds began to sing, unaware of ancient laws about to break loose in their home. Wolves formed a ring around the clearing, fur lifting in anticipation. Sable raised a small horn carved from bone and blew once. The note cut through the morning, long and sad. It was a summons. Silence answered. Then, a distant voice. A laugh. Riven stepped into the clearing from the north trail with slow, deliberate steps. He wore no coat now, just dark clothes torn at the sleeves, revealing old scars etched like runes across his arms. His eyes burned red in daylight. Wrong. Unnatural. Good morning, son, he said. Cade stepped forward, nothing human in the way he moved now. This ends here, Riven smiled. Oh, it ends. But not the way you dream. He looked at Saris then, gaze slicing through her. You smell like ancient magic, he said softly. Unexpected. Saris gripped the blade until her hand hurt. Stay away from me. Riven lifted his head and sniffed the air. Witch ash. Clever. Sable hissed, wolves growling around her. Riven spread his arms. My challenge is simple. Your life for the throne. No pack interference. Wolves lowered their heads. Ancient law settling like gravity. Cade nodded once. Accepted. Without ceremony, without warning, both men shifted. Bones cracking, limbs warping, fur tearing through skin. It was brutal and beautiful and horrifying all at once. Cade became gold and black muscle, eyes like fire. Riven became something darker, taller, fur like midnight, teeth too long to be natural. They collided with a sound like a tree splitting in a storm. The fight was fast, savage. Cade struck first, claws raking across Riven's chest. Riven answered by snapping his jaws across Cade's shoulder, blood spraying into the air. Wolves howled from the ring, ancient voices rising into morning light. Ceres's heart pounded so hard she thought it might break her ribs. The earth shook under them, paws tearing into dirt, rocks scattering. Cade lunged again and forced Riven back toward a boulder slick with moss. Riven twisted, grabbed Cade by the throat, and slammed him to the ground. Ceres gasped, stepping forward before she could think. Sable yanked her back. "Stay!" But Ceres couldn't watch someone she now cared about die in silence. She gripped the blade tighter. Riven raised a paw, claws glowing with something black, a shadow substance that made the air colder. Cade writhed, gold eyes dimming. "No," Ceres breathed. She moved. Instinct, not thought. She sprinted into the ring, wolves parting in shock. Riven's head snapped toward her. "Little human," he hissed. "You're out of your—" Ceres drove the blade forward. Not a clean strike, not trained, just everything she had. The metal sank into Riven's side where ribs met muscle. He roared, staggering back, claw recoiling from Cade's throat. Riven turned toward her, eyes blazing murder. "You dare!" Pain burned up Ceres's arm, wild and electrifying. Cade burst upward, free now, and lunged at Riven with a force that shook the clearing. Gold and black fur blurred together, bodies twisting, teeth flashing. Riven slammed into a tree, bark exploding. Cade pinned him, claws at his throat, but Riven still smiled, low and evil. "You can't kill me," he growled. "I made you." Cade bared his teeth. "Then watch me break myself free." Cade struck, claws slicing deep, and Riven howled, a sound that belonged to dark nights and ancient curses. Wolves howled too, answering in a harmony that made the air vibrate. Ceres stumbled back, blade slick with dark blood. Sable caught her, steadying her. "You changed the fight," she whispered. "You changed everything." Cade's final blow landed with a sickening crack. Riven stopped moving. Silence from the earth, from the trees, from the pack. Cade stood over the body, chest heaving, fur matted with blood. Slowly, painfully, he shifted back. Human again, naked, shaking, alive. He looked at Ceres. Really looked like seeing her for the first time. Wolves lowered in respect. Sable bowed her head. Cade tried to speak, but couldn't. Ceres reached him, dropped to her knees, and pressed her forehead to his. Dawn broke full above them, warm light spilling across the clearing. The bond between them pulsed, real, old, undeniable. Ceres felt something rising from her burning palm, like fire, becoming breath. For the first time since she fell asleep on that shoulder, she wasn't scared. She was chosen. She was awake. The forest was silent after the fight, only the sound of the river far below and the steady pant of Cade beside her. Ceres pressed her palm against her arm, still tingling from the strike against Riven, and watched the first rays of sun filter through the twisted branches above. The city beyond the trees glowed faintly, unaware of what had just happened in its shadow. Wolves padded around them, eyes cautious but alert. Cade sat on a fallen log, jaw tight, staring at the ground. For the first time since she met him, he didn't seem untouchable. Something in his posture told her he had carried the weight of that fight long before it began. "He's gone," Ceres whispered, though even as she said it, doubt fluttered in her chest. Cade didn't answer immediately. He inhaled slowly, his shoulders rising, then exhaled. "For now," he said, voice low, dangerous. Ceres shivered. The word carried the echo of threats yet to come, packs still loyal to Riven, shadows that didn't forget. Sable emerged from the tree line, silent and deliberate. "We need to secure the territory," she said, scanning the area. "His followers will test us before nightfall." Cade rose slowly, brushing mud from his coat. His golden eyes flicked to Ceres. "Are you staying with me?" Her throat went dry. "Of course." He reached out, hand steady, and she took it. The bond between them pulsed softly, warm and undeniable. She had expected fear, uncertainty, but the touch was grounding. "We should move," Cade said. They walked through the forest toward a hidden clearing where wolves circled, forming a silent, protective perimeter. Saris realized that in a matter of hours, she had been pulled into a world where survival was raw, unforgiving, yet she wasn't alone. That thought, alone with him, was enough to steady her heartbeat, even as danger lingered at the edges. They reached the clearing where remnants of Riven's followers were already appearing, cautious, teeth bared, claws scraping the earth. Saris stiffened, fear and adrenaline coiling in her stomach. Cade moved in front of her, tall, imposing, a golden shield against everything threatening her. "You're human," one of the wolves hissed, stepping forward. "Yet you stand here as if you belong." Saris swallowed. "I do belong," she said, voice firm despite the tremor inside. The wolf paused, examining her eyes, her stance, then nodded, a strange acknowledgement passing between predator and prey. Cade's lips curved faintly. "Good," he said. "They'll need to respect you. You'll need to respect them, too." Saris nodded, feeling the weight of the pack's eyes on her, understanding that survival was no longer just about hiding. It was about asserting herself, claiming her place alongside Cade. Hours passed as they moved through the city's outskirts, securing allies, mapping Riven's potential strikes, and strengthening the network beneath the streets. Saris learned quickly, the wolves were not mindless beasts. They were sharp, disciplined, and loyal to the bond they recognized in Cade. With each passing minute, the bond between them deepened, no longer just instinct or fate, but mutual trust forged in fire. "You did well today," Cade said quietly as they paused on a rooftop overlooking Manhattan. Saris looked at him, catching the golden light of sunrise reflecting in his eyes. "I had to," she said. "I can't just be a witness anymore." He smiled faintly, tension easing from his shoulders. "Good," he said, "because soon we'll face more than him." Night fell again, the city lights twinkling beneath them. The peaceful streets hid danger, but Saris felt something new. Confidence. She was no longer just the girl who had fallen asleep on Cade's shoulder. She was part of his world, part of his fight, part of the bond that neither Riven nor time could sever. Wolves padded beside them, shadows stretching long and soft in the moonlight. Cade's hand found hers, warm, steady. "Tomorrow," he whispered, "we finish this. For the pack. For us." Saris's grip tightened, heart thrumming in her chest. She felt alive in a way she never had before, terrified, exhilarated, and undeniably tethered to Cade. She could no longer imagine a life without this bond, without him. Somewhere deep in her chest, the realization hit her fully. She didn't just want survival anymore. She wanted him, in every sense, beside her, together. And nothing, not Riven, not fear, not the city itself, would take that from them. They sat on the rooftop, watching the city breathe beneath them. Wolves spread around in protective circles. The horizon glowed pink and gold, and for the first time, Saris felt the weight of their world shift. Less threatening, more theirs. Cade's hand lingered over hers, fingers entwined. "You're ready," he said, voice low, almost reverent. "For what's coming." Saris nodded, the thrill of fear and excitement coursing through her. "For you," she said softly. The bond hummed between them, invisible but undeniable. A tether stronger than blood, stronger than fate. Somewhere, far below, the city pulsed, unaware. Above, the pack stirred. And Saris realized that the girl who had once slept on a stranger's shoulder had finally awoken. Awake, bonded, and ready. Tomorrow they would end Riven. Tonight, they survived. And for the first time she knew. She could fight, she could belong, and she could love. Dawn broke slowly over Central Park, pale light spilling between skeletal branches of the ramble. Saris stood beside Cade at the edge of a clearing, heart hammering in rhythm with his. Wolves formed a wide circle around them, muscles coiled, eyes bright with anticipation. Across the clearing, Riven appeared from the shadows, taller, red eyes blazing with fury. He moved like a storm, each step deliberate, as though the earth itself feared him. Saris gripped Cade's hand, feeling the tether pulse stronger than ever, golden warmth flowing into her veins. This was it. The final confrontation. No tunnels, no tricks, no hiding, just raw, inevitable destiny. Cade's jaw tightened. He didn't glance at her. Not yet. Instead, he drew a deep breath, chest rising and falling like a drum. "This ends now," he said, voice low, steady. Saris nodded, letting the bond steady her own trembling, feeling the old fear of being powerless wash away under a surge of courage she hadn't known she possessed. Riven snarled and shifted, black fur bristling, teeth glinting in the dawn light. "You can't kill me," he hissed. "You are mine by law, by blood, by fate." Cade's eyes flared gold, wolf rising beneath his skin, muscles coiling for the strike. "No," he growled. "You made mistakes long ago. Today, I choose her." Saris felt the tether tighten, a pull in her chest, in her soul, as if the universe itself had recognized her claim. She stepped forward suddenly, catching Cade's wrist with both hands. "Together," she whispered. "We fight together." Cade's eyes softened slightly before hardening again. "If you're with me, stay close." The air vibrated with tension. Wolves around them growled low, preparing for the storm to come. Riven bared his teeth and charged, a black blur of fury. But the moment he lunged, Saris and Cade moved as one. Saris struck first, agile and fierce, hurling herself at Riven's side with a sharpened shard she had hidden in her sleeve. Pain seared her arm as metal bit into flesh, but Riven staggered, growling, surprised. Cade leapt in immediately, claws raking across Riven's shoulder. The two wolves collided, earth trembling beneath their power, teeth and claws tearing, muscles burning with strength that felt almost infinite. Saris ducked beneath an overhanging branch, rolling, feeling the heat of battle, pressing in from all sides. She hurled another shard, this time striking Riven's thigh. He howled, the sound piercing and wild, a sound that echoed off every tree and rock in the clearing. Wolves from the circle surged forward to flank him, coordinated, silent, lethal. Saris felt the pull of the bond again, guiding her movements, keeping her aligned with Cade, giving her strength she had never known she possessed. Riven roared, striking Cade backward with terrifying force, but Saris ran to him, gripping his arm, pressing herself against him. The bond pulsed like fire, warmth and power flowing between them. Cade's eyes softened briefly as he looked at her, understanding unspoken but absolute. Together they were stronger than Riven. Cade rose, claws flashing, eyes burning gold, and struck with precision. Saris moved with him, instincts guiding her, shoving, stabbing, dodging. The fight became a blur of motion. Shadow and gold, fur and blood, the wind tearing through their hair, the morning sun casting sharp, fiery angles over the scene. Riven stumbled, fur scorched, breath ragged, but he didn't fall. Not yet. Cade roared, driving him toward the largest boulder in the clearing. Saris threw herself forward, catching Riven's arm with both hands, twisting it, forcing him. Down. With a final coordinated strike, Cade sank his claws into Riven's chest, while Saris drove her shard beneath his arm, stopping just short of the heart. Riven howled, a sound that split the air, rattled the trees, and echoed through the city beyond. Then, slowly, impossibly, he collapsed, fur bristling, eyes dimming, until he lay still. Silence fell like a weight, thick and complete, Wolves lowered their heads in deference, tails brushing the earth, acknowledging the victor. Cade, chest heaving, golden eyes softening, shifted back to human form. His hands were slick with blood, yet steady when they found hers. Saris sank to her knees beside him, trembling, exhausted, exhilarated, and alive. The bond between them hummed softly, warmth and light pulsing through her chest. Sable stepped forward, silent and precise. "It is done," she said. "The Alpha is claimed. The pack is yours." Saris felt tears sting her eyes. She had survived, fought, and claimed her place beside Cade. He looked at her then, all strength and vulnerability, and whispered, "You're my mate. Always." The word hung between them, golden, heavy with meaning, but not possession. Protection, trust, and a shared future. Saris smiled through the tears, feeling the bond tighten, strong as fate itself. "And you're mine," she said. Around them, the pack howled, rising together in celebration, a chorus of loyalty and triumph that filled the morning air. The sun climbed fully above the trees, light spilling across the clearing, illuminating the bond that could not be broken. Cade drew her into his arms, holding her close as the city behind them woke to the mundane world, unaware of the ancient war that had just ended. Saris rested her head on his chest, listening to the rhythm of his heartbeat and the pulse of the bond that had chosen them both. The world felt dangerous, yes, but it also felt theirs, together. Finally, fully. She had fallen asleep on his shoulder, helpless and weary, and she had awoken claimed, bonded, empowered, and alive. And as Cade kissed her hair, whispering promises only they could hear, Saris knew this was the beginning, not the end. Their story, their love, their pack, everything had survived the storm, and they would survive whatever came next, side by side, mate and mate, Alpha and Luna, unbroken. The forest whispered around them, the pack circling close, the city far below, and Saris closed her eyes, finally, completely awake. Wow, what a journey. From a poor girl falling asleep on the Alpha's shoulder to waking up bonded and fighting for survival in the heart of New York, Saris and Cade's story has been full of twists, danger, and heart-stopping moments. If you felt the tension, the love, or the thrill, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what part of the story shocked you the most. Did you cheer for Saris and Cade? Did you feel the fear when Riven appeared? I want to hear your reactions, and if you want to see more werewolf romance stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a chapter. Your support helps me bring these worlds to life, one story at a time. Which scene was your favorite? Was it the first awakening of the bond, the subway battle, or the final showdown in Central Park? Comment below. I read every single one. Until next time, remember, love, destiny, and courage can appear in the most unexpected places.